Okay, after some thorough technical difficulties last week and at the beginning of the recordings for this week, we wanted to introduce ourselves. So I'm Nick, and that's Riker. And our system here is kind of just like we don't really care what happens. We're just going to talk and we're going to work our way through this.
Yep.
You know. So as you saw last week, we are using a wheel. This is just kind of as like a reference for the games and the odds for each. So the wheel is set up so that the odds for the home team and the away team of each game are kind of proportional to the pie chart sizes on the wheel. And then whatever the wheel picks for the money line, we'll talk about it, whether we agree, whether we disagree, so on and so forth. And then we go on to talk about the over-under and the spread, and then just other tidbits about the game that we feel are necessary to understand our choices. And then on top of that, we are including a projected earnings tab. So we are keeping track of the wins and losses of the wheel versus the wins and losses of the two of us. We have not gotten to the point where one of us agrees with the wheel and one of us does not, but we have dealt with that, and you'll see in a later video.
Yeah, I mean, you covered all the data that we're going to be putting into the Instagram, which is good. We'll have this is technically the second time we're recording us speaking, but
Yes.
the first one got corrupted, so we're back at it now. Hopefully this works. Like Nick said, we don't really care what happens here. We're just kind of, going with the flow, not a big deal. So we're going to kick it off with the Thursday game happening tonight. Luckily, we are Bills fans. Let's go Bills. And they play this Thursday night. Also stinks because we don't really have too much time off, but we get to start there today. So we're going to start with the Bucks at the Bills. Now, this is a home game for the Bills. We all know how electric that stadium can be. So the Bucks are walking into a crazy Thursday night primetime game. The spread is Bills -9. The Bills money line is -495. Bucks is +320, and the over/under is set at 44. So, Nick, what did the wheel say?
The wheel landed on the Bills. Let's go.
Of course it did. Absolutely.
Obviously, we're going to be agreeing with that. So this is going to be an exciting game. The Bills in the last 3 games have only put up 10 points in the first 3 halves, so we're off to a slow start on offense. I always say that we've been a back half team, but you kind of have to kick it up a notch in the first half. Some of the players, Dawson Knox is getting wrist surgery, and he's been one of Allen's biggest targets. Unfortunately, we're not going to have him. Yep. But it's likely to force the Bills to switch to a third wide receiver with Khalil Shakir or the other tight end, Dalton Kincaid. Last week, he got 8 catches for 75 yards, and he led the receiving corps in that game. The Bills should be able to come out swinging with a strong passing game, and especially in the backfield, they've got some backup. They've got James Cook in the event that we need the run game to take over. This game is going to be very exciting. It's a home game coming off of a divisional loss. Things are likely to get rowdy, and I'll be there tonight, so I'll be cheering for them.
Yeah.
This is going to be good. So the pick, the wheel says the Bills. We're going to agree and say the Bills. We're also going to say the Bills spread. So take that over the Bills money line, and then over under at 44, likely going to hit. I would say over 44 is an easy number.
Yeah, and absolutely. I agree. I agree with the Bills side. I agree with the Bills money line or the spread. We're probably gonna take the money line. That's probably the better option here. The over for sure. It's a home game for the Bills. The Bills tend to score a lot of points in front of our home crowd, so we can bank on that. I will say the Bucks have lost 2 of their past games, falling to a 3-3 record. Mayfield and Chris Godwin were both non-participants in practice on Monday, so Mayfield finished the game on Sunday with a knee injury. So, coming out on the field on Thursday, they haven't had too much time to rest. They've been limited in practice, but sources have been saying that they will be playing tonight. One thing to be mindful of is the Bucs defense, who has been fixing issues in the red zone. Tampa actually has the #1 red zone defense. So if the Bills can stay out of the red zone as much as possible, which was more frequent last year than it is this year, then we have a better chance of scoring and putting points on the board. Expect the Bucs to have issues with scoring. If the Bills come out strong in passing, the Bucs will just have to keep up with the pass game, with the run game, just scoring all the points that they need to keep up with the score. But I think the Bills might. I don't think they might. I think they will run away with this one in a over 44-point game with the Bills winning.
That seems satisfying for the or satisfactory for the Bills-Bucs game. Start recording. This is the video for the first 3 Sunday games: Eagles, Commanders, Saints, Colts, Jags, Steelers. Okay. All right. Whenever you're ready.
All right, perfect. On to the Sunday games now. All right, so we're kicking off the Sunday games with Eagles at Commanders in Washington. The spread, as it stands here, is -6.5 for the Eagles. I'm just going to double check that now. It actually went down, so now the Eagles are -6. The money line for the Eagles is -330, and the Commanders are +230, and the over is up 0.5 point to over 44.
Okay.
So we're looking at a high-scoring divisional game, hopefully, for that over. So have you spun the wheel?
Yes, I did. The wheel landed on the Eagles.
Okay, well, that's respectable. I think we can all agree that the Eagles might win this game, but I have some things to talk about we do before we make our pick that could change our minds, right?
Yeah.
So coming off a hot win, the Eagles are looking for another big game to win against the Commanders. I wouldn't say it's a big game. I'm only saying that because it's a division rival. Even though the Commanders have actually looked pretty decent, division rivals, division games are always like super big in the season. AJ Brown had a great game against the Dolphins. He's been on a hot streak recently, and my fantasy team is loving it. I mean, he has at least like 7 catches each game. He's been over 100 yards for the past 5, maybe 6. Last game against the Dolphins, he was 10 catches for 137 yards and a touchdown. Fantasy team loved it. Still lost by 3 points this past week. Whatever. Some things to note when betting on the game. This is courtesy. I'm gonna plug the article. I got some of this information from sportsbookwire.com. They talked about the Eagles betting tips and as well as the Commanders. So the Eagles are 4-3 against the spread this year. When being favored by 6.5 points or more, they have not covered, and that's been two games this season. So right now they're favored by 6, so you could argue that, but they haven't covered the spread when it's more than 6 points. The Eagles defense is solid. They actually just added Kevin Byard, which is a big addition to the team in the defensive backfield. The Eagles will probably have some challenges because of Washington's defense, but I don't think it's going to be enough to the point where they won't put up the points that they want. And I think Jalen Hurts is going to be the solid quarterback that we've seen this whole season so far. The Eagles have only lost 1 game against the Jets. That was kind of a tough loss. The team wasn't looking as great as they could have been. But I don't think the Commanders are going to stop the Eagles from scoring so many points. So
yeah, that's fair.
Go ahead.
One thing I want to add before I go over the Commanders for this season is the Commanders-Eagles matchup from last season. Obviously, the Eagles were undefeated for a very long time until they played the Commanders. It was late in the season. They didn't really have to win that game, but everybody was thinking that the Eagles were going to make it the whole way. Maybe the last 2 or 3 games they were going to kind of, whatever, play in the wind. But, the Commanders came out strong. They beat the Eagles. They broke their undefeated streak. And, that's kind of how it goes for division rivals. They play competitive. They play tough. So this game is going to be exciting. That being said, this season, the Commanders are 3-4, and 2 of their 3 losses are by more than 20 points. However, Sam Howell is similar passing stats with Hurts, and McLaurin has proved to be a solid wide receiver 1. Things are looking promising with this offense. The last time the Commanders played the Eagles was 4 weeks ago. It was in Philly, and the score was much closer than people expected to be, but it was still high scoring. With no turnovers and over 250 plus passing yards on each side, both quarterbacks are still playing at a similar level to that game. And the Commanders have gone 1-2 since that game, and they're looking to make a statement in their division. I feel like, this is a home game. They're going to play to their advantages. Their defense has been looking solid. So, like Riker said, things could be also very close with this game like it was the first time that they met this season.
Yeah.
That being said, we're still going to agree with the wheel. The Eagles money line there. The Eagles spread, I would say if you are willing to take an alternate spread, I would shoot for maybe 3.5 or 4.5 because of that 6.5 favor not often going in their direction. And then the over-under, the Eagles are a powerhouse offense. They're going to put up a lot of points. It's going to really boil down to if the Commanders can keep up for the over to hit. So I would say both are possible. It's just going to boil down to how much the Commanders are able to put up.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, Washington defense could play pretty well. Like you said, they're pretty solid defense this year. But also, like Sam Howell, like he's been looking pretty good and has almost as many yards to touchdowns that Hurts has. So, I mean, we could be seeing a pretty tight matchup here in the division. And like you said, like the Commanders are looking for a statement win. They're looking to come out of the gate strong against a team that is just barrel rolling the entire division. And so hopefully, the Commanders could pull something off, but I think that Eagles are just going to be winning this game. And like you said, the alternate spread is probably a good bet. Maybe -3, -3.5. I wouldn't go as far to say -6 because this game could be close.
Yeah.
What do we think about the over? Over under.
I kind of said this already. It's going to depend on what points the Commanders can put up.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because the Eagles are going to put up enough points. I would say.
Yeah.
Like even if it's another like 37-17 game, that hits the over.
Yeah.
But that's gonna 31-17. Sorry. But that's gonna depend on the Commanders being able to put up points. So.
Yeah.
Next on the Sunday at 1 o'clock games, we have the Saints at the Colts. The spread is Colts +1, I think is what it got updated to.
Yep, that's correct.
The money line odds are, I already forgot. I probably should have looked this up.
Colts -120, or actually no, it got changed to -115 for both teams, and the over/under is set at 43.5. I don't know. I mean, we went through this game earlier. I mean, I'm going to say that the Colts are going to come out with this one, but it will be a close game. The Saints are coming off 2 losses in a row. Derek Carr threw for plenty of yards last week, but way too many attempts. I think his attempts were 54 passing attempts. shows that the Saints passing game is not as prominent, not as efficient as it should be. The Saints have actually covered the spread once this year, and it was on the road. And in 4 away games, the Saints have not hit the over at all. So this is the 5th away game for the Saints. So, I mean, there could be a break in the trend, but with the Saints in games away, the over has not hit. This game will be close. I think that the Colts will put up some big numbers. I think the Saints will try to have to keep up with them. But it will be a close game in the end for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And then looking at the Colts, they're coming off of a frustrating loss where the refs bailed out the Browns. A couple of calls that probably should not have been made and definitely impacted the course of the game. That being said, Gardner Minshew has proved to be a threat with his legs, scoring 2 rushing touchdowns. He threw for the same yards that Derek Carr did last week, but in 20 fewer attempts, meaning he is a much more efficient passer and looking to spread the wealth of the yards. The Colts have gone over the total in 5 of their games this season, and they have covered the spread in 4 for 7. So that being said, we will disagree with the wheel and say that the Colts are going to win this one. With the Colts spread being at +1, it is a little bit more advantageous to take the spread over the. Actually, wait, the odds are different.
Yeah, the money line over the spread.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, it looks more advantageous to take the money line of the Colts over the spread, even though they are projected +1. This has potential to hit the over on points. It's at 43.5. The Colts are putting up big numbers. The Saints really just have to hold on in order for the over to hit. So,
yep.
I think that seems like a fair over.
Yeah. Yep. I think so too. All right, let's move on to the Jags-Steelers game. The Jags at the Steelers, that is. So we are playing at Akshire Stadium, not to be confused with Heinz Field, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
It's so weird. It's weird.
Dude, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, that's a whole conversation for another time, but I was not happy when they changed that name.
Yeah, I grew up with Heinz Field.
Yeah, so. Dude, yeah. It's just, it sucks. It really sucks. Anyway, so the spread for this is Jags -2.5, money line Jags -140, Steelers +130. The over/under is set at 41 now. They changed it to 41.
Yes.
So let's start with the Steelers here. Kenny Pickett isn't too big of a threat this year. He seems pretty inconsistent, but as Nick pointed out, that he actually helped some fantasy teams. This past weekend, Kenny Pickett scoring 15 points was apparently enough for him to win this past weekend.
Yes, it was. Yes. Hey, held off enough for me to get the dub.
Hey, man, if it works, it works, right?
Yes.
So I'd say Kenny Pickett is probably a middle-of-the-line QB. He's a little inconsistent, but the Steelers just are coming off a huge win against the Rams. They beat them 24-17, although Kenny Pickett only threw for 230 yards and no touchdowns. The Steelers defense is doing okay. TJ Watt is the defensive workhorse there. He had a pick last game, changed the course of the game, and the Steelers have covered the spread twice at home. Now, I like the way Mike Tomlin coaches his team. I like the way the Steelers have been playing this season, but I don't know if it's enough for them to keep up with the Jags this weekend. But we'll get the Jags' point of view from Nick right now.
The Jags are on a statement 4-game win streak that could continue into Pittsburgh. Trevor Lawrence has had played an average game against the Saints last week with only 204 yards and 1 passing touchdown. The Jags continue to put on a show in the run game with Travis Etienne, who can continuously put up yards and points. With that, if he scores 1 touchdown, he's likely to score a second, because that's the trend for all of these games so far this season. The secondary for the Steelers seems to have some issues, so passing yards shouldn't be too much of a problem for the Jags. And the Jags O-line has the second highest pass blocking efficiency in the NFL. So it looks like the Jags are going to have a lot of passing yardage this weekend at the Steelers.
Yep. Yeah, I think so too.
The wheel says that the Jags are going to win, and we're going to agree with that.
Yeah. Yep. I think the Jags. I'm actually going to take the spread on this one. I think you should take it. Jags -2.5, and then the over 41 points for this game. I think it's going to be a close one, but I think the Jags are going to come out with the -2.5 win over the Steelers at home.
Yeah, and both of these offenses put up quite a few points last week, so I feel like
Yep.
the over is achievable here.
Yeah, I think so too. We got the Texans at the Panthers. The spread is Texans -3. The money line is Texans -175, the Panthers +130, and the over/under is 43 points.
The wheel predicts that the Panthers are going to get their first win of the season.
Hey man, listen, all I'm going to say is the Panthers are looking for their first win of the season, right?
Yes.
CJ Stroud has been a great quarterback this year, up for Rookie of the Year. You know, he's been playing his heart out. But now we have the matchup between the two rookies, right?
Yes. Yes, we do.
So could we see the Panthers and Bryce Young pull it out? Personally, I think so. I mean, let's see. Houston has 4 wins against the spread. Okay, so that's a lot of wins. I mean, I feel like their spreads this year have been kind of low, but even still, like 4 wins against it, that's pretty good. Stroud is on fire. Texans 3-3. Dameon Pierce isn't so consistent. That's why they've been relying on the run or the passing game so much. But we have Devin Singletary, who should be getting more carries this week. So maybe the run game will be a little bit stronger. I'm not too familiar on the Panthers defense. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Houston's, passing game is very strong. So I could probably see a close game here. But we'll see what we have to say about the Panthers.
Okay, so looking at the Panthers' schedule, now I know that all of their losses, except for the 2 really high-scoring ones, they have kept the opposing team to a pretty low score. The game against the Seahawks was high-scoring for both sides, and the game against the Lions was high-scoring on both sides. I guess kind of the Panthers too, or the Panthers-Dolphins game too. So I would say 4 of their games are low. 3 of their games are low scoring, and 3 of the Lions Panthers is another one. That's preseason. Wait, do they have a bye week already? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yes.
Yes, they did have a bye week already. Okay.
Yeah, I think they're coming off a bye week
right now.
Yes. Yeah, because Miami. Yeah, they're coming off a bye week.
Yeah, after looking at the Panthers' schedules, their defense is holding up, I guess, for some of them. They're 3-3 for high-scoring and low-scoring games. All of them, of course, are losses. They're coming off a bye week, though, so this could be promising. But the 3 low-scoring games, they only held the other team to, 20 points. And they're still putting up, 10, 17, 13. In the high-scoring games, the Panthers break 20, but the other team beats them by 20. So, Panthers defense on a mediocre offense tends to perform pretty well, but they're not quite enough to, hold the other team back and get a win. But that being said, Panthers are still looking rough. They're 0-6, coming off a bye. They are having some difficulties with Sanders being hurt and Hubbard being average in the backfield. Thielen is a weapon, but can only be used if Bryce Young can get it together with passing. They have yet to cover the spread this year, obviously because their point differentials are rather large in all of their losses.
Yes. Yes, they are.
That being said, the wheel predicts that they're going to win And the spread is Texans -3, and the over/under is 43. In the majority of the Panthers games, the spread has actually they're 50-50, or not the spread, sorry. In the majority of their game, well, not majority, in half of the Panthers games, they've hit the over, and half of them they have hit the under. But
Yep.
that's because of the other team scoring a lot of points against them.
Yep.
So I unfortunately am going to disagree with the Panthers here. I think they go 0-7 despite looking for their first win at a home game. I think the Texans are going to take it here.
All right, and I'm actually going to disagree with that, and I'm going to go Panthers money line. I think the Panthers need a win here. I mean, it's not too crazy of a spread. I mean, again, Bryce Young hasn't been playing that well, but I think the Panthers, since they've been looking for their first win, I think it's going to be at home this weekend against the Texans and CJ Stroud. So I'm going to take Panthers money line, and I think I'm going to take the under in this game.
Fair enough. All right, so this is the first time that the wheel has differed from both of us. So
Yep.
I disagree with the wheel. Riker agrees with the wheel. And then because we're keeping track of like the wheel versus us, we're gonna just keep it separate like that. We're not gonna start a third column that's like me versus Riker versus the wheel. So because I'm disagreeing with the wheel, our record is going to go for the Texans, and the wheel's record is going to go with Riker and the Panthers. So that's how this debate is going to get cleared up.
Perfect.
Moving on to the next 1 o'clock game, we have the Patriots at the Dolphins. This looks to be a very lopsided affair. The Dolphins are proving to be a powerhouse. However, it's against bad teams. Their wins are against teams with negative records this year, which the Patriots do have. The Patriots did just come off of a win against the Bills, but that was at home, and Bill Belichick was pulling all the stunts, coaching the team to perfection. This week at the Dolphins looks to be a little bit different. The Patriots quarterback Mac Jones is extremely inconsistent. Despite how good he looked last week, it only comes from the lack of defense on the Bills' behalf, unfortunately. But their defense has been playing well. The Dolphins, not so much. Their defenses are very contrasting this year. We're looking for a strong defense from the Patriots and a weaker defense from the Dolphins. And the running back on the Patriots, Elliott, needs more on the ground to help the offense more. It seems as though most of the play is forced on the defense, resulting in losses that are not close on behalf of the Patriots.
Yep. I mean, like you said, the Dolphins have been absolutely obliterating teams with under 0.5 win rate. I mean, it's at the Dolphin Stadium. The Dolphins just lost to the Eagles. The Patriots played a great game against the Bills, and great division rival game. You know, tough loss for the Bills, but I don't think the Patriots are going to come into Miami and do it again. And I'm fully confident when I say that the Dolphins will be winning this game. Might be similar to the Saints-Patriots game, where the Pats never scored any points in that game. Mac Jones had a terrible, terrible game. He was pulled in the fourth quarter. I don't think it's going to be a shutout, but I don't think it's going to be close by any means. I think the Dolphins definitely take this one.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a shootout on behalf of the Dolphins. They're at home.
Yeah.
They are winning against bad teams. So definitely the 8.5 spread is looking very likely. I would take the spread over the money line.
Me too.
And I would definitely take the over because, I mean, we've seen what happens when the Dolphins play a garbage team at home, Broncos.
Mhm.
So, while the wheel does say the Patriots are going to win, I'm going to say that the Dolphins win, but I'm going to suggest that you take the spread on the Dolphins.
Yep.
And
Me as well.
definitely the over on this game.
Yes.
Okay, moving into the Falcons at the Titans. The wheel has said that the Falcons are going to take it here. That being said, the money line odds are Falcons minus 145, the Titans are plus 110, the over-under is set for 36.5, and the spread is minus 2.5. So it looks like it's going to be a little close of a game at the Titans.
Yep, and I mean the Falcons are coming off a close win. I mean they just beat the Bucks 16-13 with a last-minute field goal. Bijan didn't play that game because of a headache, which ruined a lot of fantasy owners for that game. But you know what? It was just a headache. He'll be back this week. Desmond Ritter was 19 of 25 for 250 yards, no touchdowns. The Falcons have covered the spread in 2 of 7 games. They even have 2 tight ends that could be wide receivers. I mean, you have, what's his name? The one who's been getting more reps. Not Pitts. I can't remember the other guy's name. But
we'll put it.
But Pitts is getting, a lot of reps now. He's getting the yards, the touchdowns, the catches he needs to make plays happen. He's pretty much a wide receiver with how like agile he is, how fast he is. Defense is really nothing special on the Falcons. But I mean, you know what? The Falcons have been playing strong games. Now that Bijan doesn't have his little headache anymore, he'll be back this week. And I think the Titans should watch out for him in the backfield. He'll be getting a lot of reps.
Yeah, and then looking at the Titans, Tannehill has been nowhere to be seen this season, which is slightly embarrassing on the Titans' behalf. Derrick Henry is the one that the Falcons will need to look out for. His running game is strong, and Tannehill, coming off of a loss, was 8 for 16 and 76 yards and an interception. Will Levis will be the primary QB on Sunday. The Titans are 50-50 against the spread this season, and they have only hit the over once. They have not been putting up as many points as they have been projected to.
Yeah, Will Levis coming in at the QB position is a big deal. I mean, taking Tannehill right out of there. I mean, they got some bold moves going on over there.
Yeah, we'll see how it pays off. So the wheel says the Falcons are going to win. I don't know that I necessarily disagree with them, or the wheel. I would say over under at 36.5. I mean, this could be a pretty low scoring game.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's going to be under 36.5 points. Yeah. That's pretty low. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would say
like that's saying that both teams score under 20 points.
Yeah. I think if it does go over, maybe like 20-17 and it hits 37.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they actually dropped it. They dropped it to 35.5.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
then I would take the over.
If it's 35.5 now, then I would definitely take the over. All right.
Yeah.
So we're sticking with the Falcons here.
Yep. Falcons money line.
Yes, money line.
And over 35.5.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Moving on to the next set of 1:00 games on this Sunday. We have the Vikings at the Packers for our first game that we're going to be talking about. The spread for the Vikings game is Vikings -1. The money line is Vikings -110, Packers -110.
Very
And the
even
over
matchup.
under is set as 42. Very even matchup, yes. So we have the Vikings, who are just coming off a huge win against the 49ers after plenty of devastating losses, one including Justin Jefferson. Not having Justin Jefferson is like it's just beyond a huge deal for the Vikings. He is their number one player on their team. Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson's a great duo, and not having him for 4 games really put a damper on the team. However, while Jefferson is out, Jordan Addison has proved to be that backup wide receiver one. He's having a great season. Cousins is having a great season too. He's already over 2,000 yards, and the Vikings don't have a great record. So that being said, like Cousins is due to have another big game. Jordan Addison too. Alexander Madison in the back. You know, he's playing okay. You got Cam Akers behind him. So you have a decent running back core. They haven't been using it that much because they're just giving the ball to Cousins. Where are you going to throw it, right? The Vikings defense is actually ranked 15th, and the Packers defense is ranked 16th. So seems to be like a pretty even defensive matchup. The Vikings have covered the spread 3 times this year, and games involving the Vikings have only hit the over once, which is kind of surprising because I feel like the Vikings have been scoring a decent amount of points. But that could just mean I'm looking at one game that I remember. I mean, they just beat the 49ers, like I said. That's a big game to win, statement game. And now they're coming in to the division against the Packers, ready to take them on. Packers have been looking kind of weak this season. So I think Vikings -1 is a little bit of a stretch, I'd say. What do you think?
Oh, okay, I understand.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes, yeah, no, I agree with that. It's like it's kind of a low ball, for the Vikings.
Yeah, I think so.
I agree.
Especially coming off beating the 49ers, I would just assume that the Vikings would be like at least -3, -4 maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely a close game against the 49ers, so I could see where that maybe is why it's like kind of low. But
Right.
yeah, no, I think the Vikings are going to go above and beyond the -1 spread.
Yeah, I think so.
Especially if you look at the Packers. Like the Packers are struggling. I mean, their quarterback, Jordan
Right.
Love, he's was 21 for 31, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Like those are, I mean, 21 for 31 is a nice stat. Only for 180 yards, not so great. 2 touchdowns. They were shorter touchdowns, 1 interception. I mean, oh well. But in a loss to the Broncos, makes this like kind of average stat line look so much worse.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the Packers have only covered the spread 3 times this year. Dobbs and Reed are both average wide receivers, around 40 yards each per game. And then A.J. Dillon needs more work in the backfield.
Yeah, I agree.
On top of that, like you said about the Vikings defense being 16th and the Packers defense being 16th, the Packers defense is better against the passing I am stumbling on my words.
Yeah, but you mean better against the passing game.
Better against
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean that's
yeah. Sorry, I was just.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
While the Packers defense is ranked 16th, they are ranked 8th in the passing defense, which is going to play in heavily when facing a passing heavy offense like the Vikings.
Yeah.
With all of that, I think the wheel is wrong here choosing the Packers. I am going to vote for the Vikings here, and I am going to put it on the money line over the -1 spread.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking a different route. I'm thinking the Vikings -1. I think they could pull out the win, but pull out a win like they could even win by a field goal and that'd still hit. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think part of me thinks, okay, the -1 is a little too good to be true. But the other part, the most of me is thinking, okay, well, the Vikings just came off a big 49ers win, big win against the 49ers, and they're looking to keep going on top of that win. And they've had a rough start to the season so far. I think that they'll come into Lambeau Field and they'll make a statement with a pretty high-ish scoring game. But I think they'll beat them by more than one.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fair. They could swing either way, money line or spread.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think, I personally, I think that the game's going to go under.
You think under?
42 points.
Okay.
I think so.
I mean, if both defenses are going to be like an average matchup,
yeah,
that's about right.
Yeah. I mean, over under, it's kind of difficult to gauge this game over under, but I'm going to say Vikings come in, they win the game, but I don't think they're going to score as many points as people think they will. I think under 42.
Next up, we have the Rams at the Cowboys. This game is likely going to be exciting. The Rams are coming off of a loss. The Cowboys were projected to be really good from the start of the season. This is a matchup that's going to be exciting to watch. The Wheel has predicted that the Rams are going to take this one, and the odds for the two sides are plus 210 for the Rams and minus 258 for the Cowboys. The spread is at minus 6 in favor of the Cowboys, and the over-under is 45.5.
Yep.
So looking for some big stuff out of these teams. The Cowboys, I mean, are they really the team they think they are? Everyone thinks they are. They were off to a strong start in the first game. Then the second game, they kind of downward trend started. They lost to the Cardinals, and then Dak Prescott was 21 for 30 for 272 with one touchdown in the is this for the previous game or the Cardinals game that you have notes on?
Previous game, sorry.
Prescott was 21 for 30 for 272 passing yards and one touchdown in last week's game. And Pollard was proven to be a huge asset in the backfield. The Cowboys barely beat the Chargers in the last game. Now they are 4-2. They are 4-2 against the spread this year. I really butchered that. My bad.
No, you're good. Yeah, so coming off of that, the Rams lost to the Steelers last week. Stafford was 14 for 29 for 232 yards. Kupp and Nakua are two solid wide receivers. I mean, before Kupp came back, Puka Nakua was going crazy. I think he has I want to say he has 600 receiving yards or something like that. But I will say Cooper Kupp is coming in hot on that number. He has had back-to-back, at least his first two games back were well over 100 yards. No touchdown in the first game, but a touchdown in the second game. The Rams defense has been kind of quiet. I mean, they just lost to the Steelers. I mean, there were some bad calls coaching, bad play calls going on there. The Rams are 4-3 against the spread this year, and the Cowboys do have the at-home advantage. That stadium tends to get pretty rowdy. The Cowboys do seem to play pretty well at home, and this isn't a playoff game, so the Cowboys might not lose this one because they tend to lose all the playoff games. But so we're going to take the Cowboys. We're not going to take the spread. I think that, the Rams are 4-3 against the spread. Dallas is 4-2 against the spread. Those are pretty good records, but I don't think it's safe enough to take the spread here. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys money line, and I think that Dak Prescott's going to come out swinging. Matt Stafford's going to have a big game. I think the over 45 points is the correct play here.
I agree. Okay, Jets at Giants.
Guess it doesn't really matter where they're playing at because it's the same stadium. So
yeah,
there's no really home field advantage here, I guess you could say.
Yeah, no. I was actually curious about this. I didn't get a chance to look into it, but who gets what locker room? Or is it set up
I
so
don't
that
know.
both of them get the home locker room whenever they play there, like two separate locker rooms set up?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like both the locker rooms would be set as home locker rooms, considering the Jets and the Giants both play there. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question, though.
Well, regardless, there's no real home field advantage here aside from saying whose home game this is.
Right.
Um, while the spread is set at Jets -3, um, this really, I guess, could go either way in terms of home field. Actually, that's probably not true if the Jets are -3 still.
Right.
Um, well, the only effect that the home field advantage has on the spread is that you get a -3 bonus. So the Jets being -3 should technically be -6, given that the Giants get a -3 advantage. Um, the money line for each of these teams is set for the Jets at -148 and the Giants at +124. The over/under is at 36.5, and I guess I will start with the Giants. Start with our home team here. Tyrod Taylor is the better option. He has proven that in the past couple games that he's been starting. And then the run game, Barkley was injured and he hasn't been as consistent this year. And then looking at the tight end, Waller finally got out of the cage last week with his first receiving touchdown. And the Giants are looking rough this season despite the win against the Commanders last week. They've hit the over once and covered the spread at home once. So kind of unlikely where that's going to end up for the Giants this game this weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, the Jets have beaten two of the top 5 teams in the league. I mean, they beat the Eagles and they beat the Bills, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're sitting at a team that could beat the big ones, but struggle somewhat in all the other games they've played. I mean, Zach Wilson's just not the answer. I'm going to say it straight up. I mean, he's almost just as bad as Bryce Young is with the Panthers this season. I mean, they're just not putting up the yards they should. I get it. Zach Wilson came into that season opener thinking that he was just going to be on the bench the whole season, and surprise, surprise, Aaron Rodgers came out of the game 75 seconds into the game. So, I mean, the Jets defense is what's holding the team together right now. I mean,
absolutely.
You know, Sauce Gardner's been out though with the concussion, and they've still been playing pretty good. Zach has had 2 good games this year, maybe 3. He is the answer for now for sure, but not forever. I don't really know. These are 2 mediocre teams, but the Jets have been playing better than the Giants have. The Giants came close to the Bills in the game that they played, which, you know, the Bills had an off week. I guess you could say 2 weeks in a row. We still beat the Giants. The Giants beat the Commanders last week, but is that really a big win? I wouldn't say so. So I think that you should probably take the Jets money line, and then I would probably go with the over on the points. I think 35.5 is pretty low.
I was thinking the under.
The under?
Because the Giants are less likely to put up some points.
Okay, yeah.
But I think either way is achievable for sure.
Yeah.
The over would hit. I mean, as long as the Giants can make it to the end zone, that over will certainly hit. So yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you on that. I think the over is achievable.
Okay. Yeah.
For 36.5, because I mean that is low.
Yeah.
If it's like, even if they only get 10, say they get a field goal and a touchdown, the Jets are likely to go over 20. So
yeah, I would think so. Now we are starting with the 4:00 games this Sunday, and we're starting off with the Browns at the Seahawks. We got the spread Seahawks -3. The money line is Seahawks -160, Browns +140, and the over/under is 39.5 points. I will say the Browns are a solid team with a promising season. The best defense in the league, with Garrett playing insane last week. I mean, he was just unstoppable. 2 forced fumbles, 2 sacks, that jump over the O line for the blocked field goal.
Insane.
That was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, he's just going insane this year so far. PJ Walker was 15 for 32 for 178 yards with 1 interception. So he didn't play too well, but well, with Deshaun Watson now, that's the best they could really do. Jerome Ford is the running back one. I mean, he showed it last week. He had a 69-yard touchdown run. Kareem Hunt seems to be the backup. He really hasn't been doing too much. Ever since Nick Chubb came out, Jerome Ford has really taken advantage in that backfield. There's been a lot of he's had a lot of huge runs, huge receptions. So he doubles as a running back and a wide receiver. The Browns have been upside in this game, even though the Hawks are on a tear. I feel like it's going to be a close game. I mean, you can't really. I mean, -3, anything -3 or below is really going to be a close game. It just kind of depends on how the teams play. But I mean, the Browns are going to do what they can to beat the Seahawks, and the Seahawks are going to do what they can to beat the Browns. It's how the game works, man. Right?
Right. And the Seahawks, last week, they won against the Cardinals, and Geno Smith played a pretty good game. He was 18 for 24 with 219 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. The Seahawks have covered the spread 4-2 this season, and they have only gone over the total twice. That being said,
also before you say anything, Kenneth Walker is a big workhorse in the backfield too. I think he's going to prove himself this game as well.
I think so too. The wheel selects the Seahawks to win this one, and I'm going to agree. It's a Seahawks home game. They just won a divisional game. And then I would say probably over. The Browns have been high scoring. The Seahawks have been pretty high scoring. I think I'm going to agree with the wheel.
Yeah, 39.5 seems pretty low. Seahawks money line or spread?
I'm going to say money line.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah,
I like that.
The spread's close.
Yeah, I like that.
One other thing that I would say maybe you could probably bet on is the Browns quarterback has had an interception in every single game this season. So
yeah, yep, that's something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, turnovers can be costly.
Yep. All right, moving on to the next game, we have the Chiefs at the Broncos. So we're playing at Mile High Stadium. We have the spread set at Chiefs -8, money line Chiefs -375, Broncos +300, and the over/under is set at 46 points.
I guess I'll start with the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a league threat. Taylor Swift is also a league threat. Mahomes really came out last game with 32 for 42 with 424 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and he did let up an interception. But the whole Chiefs team is a threat. Kelsey and Pacheco really bringing a high level of work to this offense. And the Chiefs really should not be losing a game to a division rival here.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, the Broncos definitely a bottom 5 team in the league. I mean, they just put so much money in Sean Payton, Russell Wilson, and have done almost nothing with it. Like they had Wilson last year. He did almost nothing. With Nathaniel Hackett, I mean, you could argue that was the coaching, but also Wilson just did not play very well. The Broncos have let up quite a few points. I mean, talking about the Dolphins game, that was kind of embarrassing, 70-20. But you bounce back from that. Don't look on the past. Just play the games that you have right in front of you. Their defense isn't really much of a threat. Every other game, they've pretty much let up a decent amount of points. The Chiefs are an offensive and a divisional threat, just like you said in the division. So going up against that, the Broncos are bound to have a hard time this weekend. I don't think the Broncos have a chance in this game. I mean, it's so insane how well Pat Mahomes played last week. I mean, you put it in perspective, like Derek Carr for the Saints threw 54 passes and completed 30 of them or something like that. And he threw for 300 something yards. Well, Pat Mahomes threw 42 passes, completed 32, and threw for 424 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, that's just like no other quarterback in the league is doing that right now. And that's why he is the best quarterback in the league. And I don't think that's going to change this weekend. I think that the Chiefs come in, they stomp on the Broncos, kill them in the division, and they walk right out with the win.
I agree. I was going to talk about their last game, their last matchup. The score was so much lower than anybody had predicted.
Yeah.
And I think the spread was 10.5, and the actual spread, the game ended with 11.
Yeah.
I think, right?
Yeah.
So, the Chiefs and the Broncos, division rivals, kind of. There's always one kind of drop game from the Chiefs, and I think we saw that last week, or the last matchup. So this one is looking like it's going to be very heavily in the Chiefs' favor.
Yeah, I think so too.
The wheel apparently does not like the Chiefs, votes for the Broncos. But we're going to disagree with that and say the Chiefs. Spread looks promising, and the over also looks promising. Spread at -7 and the over at 46.
Change to -7? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Over 46. Okay. Perfect. Sounds good. All right. And with that, moving on to the next game, the next 4 o'clock game, we got the Bengals at the 49ers. The spread is Niners -5.5. Niners money line -240, Bengals +200, and the over-under is set at 45 points. I'm going to start things off here with the 49ers. They've had 2 losses in a row. Now, a team that is that high caliber and that big on winning, that is, for this, especially this season, that's almost unheard of. 2 losses in a row. They lost to the Vikings last week, and then they lost to the Browns the week before. And nobody expected either of those games to end how they did. Purdy's been playing great, though. I mean, the past 2 games, he's been kind of struggling a little bit, but not enough to say he's not a top 5 quarterback in the league. I mean, you see him, he's up there with, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Lamar even too. Without Debo and Trent Williams, he seems to be struggling a little bit compared to like previous games, like earlier in the season. He went for 21 for 30, 272 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks last game against the Vikings. So he still played well. It's just the game did not work out in their favor. The 49ers tend to score a lot. They're 4-3 against the spread. The over's looking nice here, but we'll get the Bengals side of things right now.
Yeah, and real quick before that, Purdy is under concussion protocol right now, right?
Yes. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Purdy is under concussion protocol.
Is he out for sure? Or is
yes, he's. Well, I mean, if he can't pass the protocol, then he's definitely out. But it seems like Sam Darnold's going to be in that position for this weekend.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if they'd made a decision.
Yeah, I think it's official, but I could be wrong. I want to assume that it is, because concussion protocol, you're out for 1 to 2 weeks.
Yeah. All right. Well, into the Bengals now. They've started out this season with a sad performance from the highest paid quarterback in the league. They finally started to get it together the past 2 or 3 weeks. Jamar is due for a huge game again, and so is Joe Mixon. These guys have really been running it down the field, whether they're catching balls or carrying them. They're doing great. The Bengals offense will come out swinging. However, we will have to see what the 49ers secondary can do to stop it.
Yep.
As we said, over under at 45. Both of these teams, if they can get the ball moving, are high scoring. The wheel has chosen the 49ers, which is a respectable pick. But I guess we'll see what the Bengals can do coming into this away game for them.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
it's kind of hard to like think that the spread for the Niners is going to hit. It's kind of hard to think that the Niners are going to come away with this one just because the quarterback is just like everything circles around the quarterback. Obviously not so much the defense, but like the whole offense does. So if you put in Sam Darnold, who hasn't played in however long, then you're you're actually opening up for the Bengals to score more and the 49ers to not keep up with those scores as much as Brock Purdy would. So I don't think Brock Purdy being out is going to change the 49ers winning, but it's definitely going to make it closer of a game than the spread is at what, -6 or -5. I think the 49ers, 5.5, yeah. I think the 49ers come away with this one, but I think it's just going to be so close. I don't know how Sam Darnold's going to play. We haven't seen him yet this season. So if Sam Darnold plays, then I would take 49ers money line. If he doesn't, I would still probably take 49ers money line. I probably would.
yeah, it seems like a safer bet.
Yeah.
If Darnold is coming in, I know last week we were kind of worried about the Christian McCaffrey injury, but he still played well. Like
He did. He got his
got
touchdown.
just as many touches, got his touchdown. I think they'll rely on him a bit more if Darnold does come in, if he's able to play. But I would say, with injuries, depending on who's playing, it's going to be closer with the Bengals. But I would still say the 49ers are going to take it here.
Yeah, I think so too.
And the last of the 4 o'clock games, we have the Ravens at the Cardinals. We got a big bird face-off here.
Yep.
The Cardinals beat the Cowboys, and that's it. That's their only win on the season. They could come out with another upset like before, but I have a feeling this is not going to be the game. Dobbs is decent. Kyler is coming back. They haven't used the run game at all, really.
Yep.
In all 3 of their home games, they have hit the over on the points. So this is looking good in that aspect.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the Ravens just came off a huge win against the Lions. I mean, that was just an absolute unreal beatdown against the Lions, who are a great team this season. In the power rankings, they were ranked before this game, like I think top 5. Now they've dropped to a couple of places. I don't know. I mean, nobody expected that. It was either going to be a close game or the Lions coming out with the win. I sure as hell didn't expect it, right? But
Yeah, no,
Lamar
not at all.
just on his feet in the air, he was great. And like having Gus Edwards back there too, like the double running back, I guess you could say, threat is just, I mean, that's lethal. Like if teams don't have a good run defense, then it's going to be hard to stop both of them, even the Ravens defense comes in at second in the league. I mean, they're proving to everybody else that they are a team in contention for a late playoff run, even a Super Bowl. Like it's their defense is ranked second. Lamar has played out of his mind last week and been playing really well this season. I mean, it's a healthy team. It's a strong team. And they're playing this week 1-6 Cardinals with Josh Dobbs. I don't know if he's playing or if Kyler Murray's playing, but I guess we'll have to see game time. But I don't think it really matters for the Cardinals. I think that the Ravens come away. I think it's going to be another big game for the Ravens. I don't know what you think. I think Ravens minus 8.5 still, right?
Yeah, I think the spread is definitely worth a choice here. I think you could go for the Ravens minus 8.5.
Yeah, I think so. And then I just don't know, because taking a spread that high leads me to believe that it will be an over. But these two teams, like if the Ravens score enough, they'll stop trying to score as much as they want. And the Cardinals, if the Cardinals aren't keeping up, then that, like, I just don't know. I don't know. This might be like one of the ones where, okay, the Ravens score a lot of points, but are the Cardinals going to score enough?
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, the 3 home games for the Cardinals were all over
Yeah.
total points. So I feel like they could probably score enough as a home game,
Yeah.
and because against the Bengals they scored 20, against the Cowboys they scored 28, and
Yep.
against the Giants they scored 28 as well. So
Yeah.
if they're putting up 20 points as a home game, and the Ravens are gonna beat them, I feel like, you know, that's gonna go right over the 44
Yeah.
as we
Yeah.
think it should. So
Yeah.
that's a fair pick.
Yep.
I don't know if I said it already, but the Ravens was the pick from the wheel. I'm certainly going to agree with that.
Yeah. Me too. Yep.
Okay, so
Yep.
we've got Ravens money line. Take the spread if you're bold. Take the money line if you're playing it safe, and then the over under. Take the over for 44.
Yep. Sounds perfect.
All right, and that wraps up the 4 o'clock games.
And now we're going to move into the Sunday night game. All right. We got Bears at Chargers. What a game we have right here, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh boy.
The Bears. The Bears coming off a big win last week against the Raiders.
Huge.
A big win with a rookie backup quarterback who made a statement that game. Right?
Yes.
We have the Chargers spread at -8.5. Chargers money line -450. Bears +350. Over under set at 46.5. By the time this video comes out, they may have changed. All of these spreads and money lines and overs may have changed, but we have really no control over that. So we're just going to move on with that, with the numbers we have in front of us. The Bears made it happen last week. Like we said, they beat the Raiders. I think it was 30-12 with Tyson Bagent, I think that's how you say his name. I didn't watch that game, so I didn't really see his performance. But I did see Donta Foreman's performance on fantasy because my opponent had him on his bench. Oh, and we'd love to see that. We'd love to see a 33-point running back on my opponent's bench, right? He had himself a game. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns, 89 yards. He was one of the big reasons why they won that game. With the Bears being without Fields, obviously they're going to rely more on the run game. They're not too trusting in Tyson yet. And it's unlikely he's going to play this Sunday night. They're really, with his thumb, I think they've already made the statement that he's not playing again. It might be another game, maybe 2.
Fields.
Yeah, Fields. Yeah, Fields. I think they made the statement he's not playing again this week.
Yeah.
So it's a big game for the Bears to win. You'll touch on the Chargers, but man, they've been struggling. They have been struggling since Herbert was drafted. The Chargers are he is the quarterback with the most amount of losses since he was drafted in 2020. Oh, geez, I can't remember. Wow. Don't quote me on it, but whenever he was drafted, he's the quarterback with the most losses out of any in the league, which is
2020. Yeah.
2020. Okay, yeah, I thought so. Yeah, so that's he's got to figure that out, man. He's got to figure it out soon. But I'll let you take over for the Chiefs here, or the Chargers here.
Yeah, speaking of the Chiefs, they just came off of a loss to the Chiefs. Big divisional game. The Chargers were really looking to take over on that one.
Yep.
Herbert not looking great again, as well as the O-line. He was sacked 5 times last week. He was 17 for 30. Still managed to put up 259 passing yards and a touchdown, but he did throw 2 interceptions.
Yep.
Eckler has been slow. However, the Chargers are more productive on offense than the Bears, and the Bears will need to keep up with the scoring if they want to run away with this one.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. That being said, the Wheel is a huge fan of the Bears, and they were correct last week. So the Wheel is taking the Bears again here, but I'm gonna disagree. I think the Chargers are gonna walk away with it. They kind of need a win after that loss within the division. I think that they will definitely put up some big numbers, especially since they're at home.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree with the Chargers. Probably Chargers money line. I don't want to go too bold, too risky with the Chargers minus 8.5. But man, there's just something about it that's leading me towards the Bears. I just can't justify it. I really can't.
Because the wheel
With
won.
yeah, right. Yeah, with the wheel winning. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know. Oh man, I'm gonna have to think about this one for a hot second. But while I'm thinking about it, I mean, you said Chargers. What would you take, money line or the spread?
I'm gonna say money line. I think the Bears, the way that they performed last week, they can definitely put up points
Yeah,
against a decent defense,
yeah,
like the Raiders. But coming into the Chargers game, I still think the Chargers are gonna take it. So
yeah, yeah. After a little bit of thinking, uh, I really like the wheel on this one. So upset alert. I am taking the Bears money line and the under 46.5.
under.
Yeah, so I'm really
Okay.
going opposite of you.
All right. Um, well, we both have an over and an under here, so take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it in the table as over/under because we
Yep.
both did make a pick. It's not like last week where we didn't choose anything.
Yeah.
Um, and then same as before, where the wheel said, um, which game was that? Panthers. When the wheel
Yep.
said the Panthers, I said the Texans, and you said the Panthers. Same thing. We have a split. So the wheel's taking the Bears, and the Misty Meadows money line is going to take the Chargers
Yep. Yep.
because we have a split decision.
Yep. Sounds
All
good.
right. Next, last one on the list, we have the Monday Night Football. Um,
Monday Night Football.
so we have the Raiders at the Lions. I feel like after last week, the Lions need a win, and the
Yeah.
Raiders might not be prepared for what the Lions can bring to the table here. The Ryans, both teams here. The Raiders lost to the Bears with Hoyer at quarterback. He went 17 and 32 for 129 yards and 2 interceptions. Josh Jacobs has done almost nothing. Devontae Adams made up 57 of those 129 yards, so he is a large target for the quarterback, and he needs more work still.
Yeah.
But the Raiders should be able to figure it out, or maybe they might have to play catch up with the Lions offense. They really need to piece things together here, especially after that loss to the Bears.
Yep.
So hopefully they can make enough changes to compete with the Lions. Otherwise, the Lions are going to run away with it here.
Yeah. And I mean, well, as of 15 minutes ago, Jimmy Garoppolo is set to return Monday. So that might change things. Brian Hoyer will probably not be playing. Jimmy G, in quotes, Jimmy G in line to return Monday. He's hopeful,
Okay, so that's
is what it
promising.
says. Yep, that's promising for the Raiders. That's good. Now that Devontae has his quarterback back, right?
Yes.
It's I, whoever the quarterback is, he needs those yards, man. He does. He really does. And the Lions coming off that huge loss to the Ravens. We just touched on it earlier, but I mean, there's plenty of promise on both sides of the ball, especially on offense for the Lions. That is, Gibbs showing life finally, right? Now that Montgomery's injured, Montgomery's been putting in touchdowns like nobody's business, and Gibbs has never had the chance to see the field. So now he has, and he's been performing pretty well. Amon-Ra performing great, balling out, and Laporta proving himself as a great receiver for Goff, right? It's only a matter of time before all three of those things come together and click for good. Like it clicked a couple games ago. It didn't click last game, but I feel like going forward, it's going to keep on clicking, right? And especially when Montgomery gets back, that's a big workhorse in the backfield for touchdowns. Especially, he's like Jamal Williams that the Lions got rid of, that they sent to the Saints. Montgomery is that goal line running back for the Lions. Jared Goff does need to rethink some decisions when throwing, um, especially from last week. I don't think it's too big of an issue to worry about right now, but the game will go smoother if he does make better decisions on Monday night. And the Lions are 5-2 against the spread, so that's something that okay, you look at it, spreads -8. That's a big spread. I don't like the big spreads.
Yeah.
If I see, like I said earlier, if I see anything over a -3 or a -5, that is, I get nervous. I get nervous. It's a big risk. That's a lot of points. I mean, you think about it. Okay, that's just a touchdown and a 2 point, or that's just a touchdown and a field goal, right? But when you really look at
Yeah.
it, it's like, okay, can the Lions win by 9 points, right? Can the Lions win by a touchdown and a field goal to the Raiders? I don't know, right? Um, so with that being said, I mean, Jimmy G coming back this weekend, I think that's huge for the Raiders. They need that so bad. Um, and the Lions coming off a loss, it's going to be a heated game. I feel like it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be as close as people think, but I think it's going to be a lot of catch up from both ends. Touchdown, field goal, back to back kind of deal. I don't really think the defense on either side is going to be playing too big of a role within the game.
Looking at the Raiders schedule, when they had Jimmy G, their losses were close, except for Buffalo. Their losses were close. It was
Yeah.
23-18, 24-17, and then this big one against the Bears was 30-12.
Yep.
So if Jimmy G comes back, offense will click. They'll get the gears moving. They'll put up a bit more points than last week. So the over looks likely if they can come back, but I would say if not, probably the under. I would say
Yeah.
the Lions are gonna win if they're ahead by that much. I don't know how high scoring it'll be. I feel like it'll be a large spread just because their defense can shut down this still working things out on the offense.
Yeah, I think so. So I agree with the under 45.5 points. And you said Lions money line or spread?
I think that 8 is a little too risky.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm gonna go with just the money line here.
Yeah, I'll go with money line as well. I think that's good. All right. Well, that wraps things up for this week's Week 8 NFL script that the league themselves sent to us. Not actually, but
No.
we're gonna take it and run with it. These are our picks. I think what we'll do is we'll put together a specific parlay. Like we'll post something Thursday night, and then we'll post something Sunday morning, and then Sunday night, and before all the games, a shortened up parlay that we make that we can, 3 legs, 4 legs. So we're not putting, I don't know, 16 teams in a
Yeah.
whole,
No,
like that's just so outrageous. But that's kind of
no bye
ours.
week.
That's kind of our picks. So what we'll do is we'll get together probably tomorrow, probably on Friday, probably on Saturday. We'll make something up. Probably, like I said, a 3 or 4 legger, maybe 1 or 2 parlays, and we'll get those out to you before the games start on Sunday.
Alrighty.
All right.
This is the Misty Meadows Moneyline Week 8.